teachers and all the things that they have magically done this year with trying to teach with kids online and teach kids in the building and have to deal with they're the tech support and everything else. I would never want to take that day away from them. So, the way that I see, or what I would like for us to at least try to think about is that through this whole process, there's definitely people who are on big divides of coming back or not coming back. But, I think we've continued to pivot and give resources, availability, vaccines and things like that to people who, if they want them. And, I think the constant changing is not just with schools. It's in every business that's had to be open. I mean, this whole year has been crazy and changing. But if we are student-centered, and that's where we need to focus, if that's what we say we are, then I just really feel like doing what we can to bring our middle and high school kids back 4 days a week, if they want to, is being student-centered, and anything less is failing the student.
Right.
Yes, Board Member Crawley. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Board Member Crawley. Board Member Bremer had her hand
Okay.
up, so thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First, I think we have to be very careful when we're talking about making blanket statements about what students actually want, because I happen to know a cohort of students that are extremely happy with remote and they do not want to change at all. So that's the first thing. But second, Wednesdays are not going to be cleaning days through the month of May, because ACTs happening then, SATs are happening then, AP exams are happening then. So the schools have students in them all the time, and they will not have a break for cleaning. They won't have a break for any kind of reduced contact. And I'm also concerned about, are we going to be making sure we have the actual clearance in changing classes? We have changing classes up and down the halls, so you are exchanging cohorts. And my final thought is, I know that's a lot to take in at once, but, what do the students want? Have we asked them? Have we polled the students themselves and asked the students how they feel about this?
Yeah, so a couple of things, Board Member Bramer. As far as the passing in the hallways, schools are doing that now. Yes, there's fewer students that are in our high schools, but they are changing classes now for their periods. They're eating in the classroom for the most part. There are some that have figured out other creative solutions. And so so again, adding more students, the passing would still be an organized passing, which is what it is now. And honestly, in the hallways, all the hallways are marked, and that will still, the social distancing is still mandated, even with the change in the guidelines in the hallways. The only place it's shifted is actually physically in the classroom. And there was another question at the end that you asked that I thought was, about asking kids. So I will tell you, I have had from teachers, students, and parents an overabundance of emails asking to come back. And again, I don't have a survey that I've done recently, but I will tell you, it's been from folks that I really never even hear from at all. It's just been a ton. And from teachers, and when I'm in schools, telling me, get all the kids back. They all deserve to come back. We need all of them back. So, that's kind of anecdotal. That doesn't mean that we've got 40% that want to be home right now, according to our data. So you're right. You're talking about 40% that say, I want to stay home. And the good news is they still get to. So that's, we're going to respect that the students that really feel more comfortable learning remotely. So I hope I answered some of your questions, Board Member Bramer.
What about the cleaning situation with the ACT, the SAT, and the AP exams, and making sure they don't lose their spots in magnets and specialized schools, and they don't get thrown into the virtual academy, so they can stay where they are getting what they need and they're excelling, but still want to stay virtual?
Right. So as far as testing, I know they have to come in person for those things, and that is really, a decision from a higher level, but we're making it work, and our schools have been very strategic in doing that in a very safe way. And I've seen students coming back to the building for ACT and other things, and it's been done in a very safe way. As far as the Wednesdays for the cleaning, when we first started Wednesdays, it was splitting up the cohorts. Wednesday turned into way more than cleaning in between cohorts. Wednesday turned into, at the state, and this is not what we call it, the state calls it Wellness Wednesday. When I'm on my superintendent calls, they call it that. But it really is beyond just cleaning of the facility, because our custodians are cleaning every day. And so they can do deeper cleanings on Wednesdays, but you can still have people in your building and be able to do that. You just do different areas at a time. But again, it's really more, the Wednesdays are really about, because of the concurrent instruction and the planning. It started out as a big push because of all the time it would take cleaning. As we've learned more and have progressed, the cleaning doesn't take that as long. The custodians are able to do a lot of that each day. At the end of the day, with the foggers and all that, they're still cleaning on Wednesdays. But that's what we've learned with that. So again, the Wednesdays is really about being better prepared for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday to offer the very best instruction for in-person learners and remote learners. And that's, and provide small group when necessary for kids that might be behind, and just for teachers to plan together. So that's really what the Wednesday is about. But we still do cleaning, but the cleaning is being done every day.
So my question was around the revised toolkit. Were there any considerations in regards to the distance recommendations? Did they factor in that staff have had the opportunity to be vaccinated?
Yes, so staff that have been vaccinated, and I'll just give you an example. If a staff member has had both vaccines, which really, one of the things when we made the decision for April 12th, if you all remember, originally, it's because everyone that had their first vaccine that chose to would have had their second. And that's why we asked for the 12th, and you all graciously approved that night that we'd come back on the 12th. Also, spring break was in there, and so there were some really good reasons for that. But one of the things is with staff with vaccine, if they are a close contact, they actually, according to the rules, do not have to quarantine. As far as the vaccine, what was your part of your question about the vaccine?
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's a change in how the toolkit, what the recommendations are based on the fact that people have had the opportunity to get vaccinated. I mean, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
That's one of
I
the
don't
things
know if
everybody
that's-
said we've been waiting for, and it's come,
Right.
and that's
Right.
why I don't see any reason to hesitate going into Plan A.
Right. I don't think, I will tell you this, and talking to Dr. Moore, I don't see I see that we can move forward with the 4 days a week. That I don't think anyone can say that has not been my push since I got here. The one thing that we've been in our district is very deliberate in the rollout,
Yes.
and our board has helped us do that. And so people have embraced those changes, have prepared for those changes, and we have moved forward pretty successfully. I will tell you that the issue, so if we had full schools of kids, just say everybody wanted to come back, your spread potentially of high schoolers. So I know originally a lot of folks were talking about staff and spread with staff. So if every staff member was vaccinated, you still the virus is going to spread from kid to kid. It does now. We've had to shut down probably, 3 teams in the last 2 weeks for a period of time because of spread. So when we do this, we just have to know that with kids being closer proximity, there is more chance of the virus is not going away, and I'll be so happy when kids can get vaccinated, which hopefully will happen soon. But I'm also advocating for their mental well-being of being in school, their academic well-being, but also their physical health, to make sure that that I can tell parents that when your kid comes to school, they're going to be safe as well. They're going to be safe and get the academics and get the mental health support. But the toolkit, Dion, tell me if I'm wrong, the toolkit doesn't specifically address anything about the vaccine having a connection to social distancing, does it, or to physical distancing?
No, I do not recall saying anything in there, just the fact that if you've been fully vaccinated, you no longer have to quarantine,
Right,
unless you have symptoms.
right. So again, we are prepared. There is not one of us on my senior team, one of our leaders in schools that are not ready to embrace 6 through 12 coming back 4 days a week, those students that want to. So I need to make that a public statement because it's a true statement, and students that want to remain remote, being remote. We just like with everything else, want to be very intentional each step of the way and make sure that, that we keep our kids safe. But again, we want them. If we were to return, after that week to let schools adjust after spring break, ramp up for the more students coming back. God, I lost my thought again. I'm sorry. I think I'm just tired. I'm losing my thought, my train of thought. Anyway, we would be ready, and we would be. The principals would be very excited. I mean, it would just be. Again, we would have at that point another 6 weeks left. Our goal was this whole year has been, oh gosh, I hope the last 9 weeks we can get kids back as much as they choose to be back. And I think we can actually achieve that. We just want to do it in a way that we are not shutting down class after class, doing it in a very strategic way. So
you say 6 weeks left, but what would it actually be for, say, students enrolled in APs? Because we're at the point where we have students getting ready to take, exams with consequences who've never met their teacher in person. And that really concerns me. And back to Board Member Jones's point, if we are student-centered, I understand, I realize there's a burden of getting classrooms fixed, but that's on the adults, and the adults, we're the ones who have to do that as adults. And we have to do what's right for our children, and what's right for our children is getting them back in classrooms as much as possible, as soon as possible.
And I know we're not voting on this tonight, but I want to be very clear. If we come back and vote and we move forward with a recommendation to bring them back, it is on Monday and Tuesday of that week, that cohort would come back. On Thursday and Friday of that week, a cohort would come back. The next week, they'd come back 4 days every week till the end of the school year. So it is, and I know this, it is really the difference of 2 days to allow schools to feel that final sense of, okay, we got this for all the kids coming back as far as the eating and all of that. Some of the districts today, talking about eating, they don't have clear plans and they're concerned about it. Right. We won't be concerned about it because our plans will be very clear. I think it's very important for parents to make a decision as in the next week. Are your kids going to come back if we do this for 4 days? Are they coming back or are they not? And so that we have the accurate numbers, we know what to expect and what to plan for.
So
But we're ready. I mean,
So
we're
the
on board.
Board Member Montsinger had her
Mhm.
hand, and then Board
Yes.
Member Kaplan. Board Member Montsinger, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Trish, what I want to say just right off the bat is I could not be more impressed with how our district has dealt with vaccinating our staff and offering that to everybody. And I have friends all around the country, and we have done an extraordinary job. And from my perspective, if you didn't get vaccinated yet, that's kind of on you, because we made so many options available. And I am grateful to you, to the staff of the district, to Novant Health, to Wake Forest Baptist Health, and the health department for really doing an enormous undertaking. I want children back in school as well. I really want to make sure that this is not who wants kids in school and who doesn't want kids in schools. I am probably closest to Mr. Bohannon in terms of I want to ask the questions because to me, details really matter. That's how my professional life was always about, and that's how I think. I want to know the details. I want to know when we say cohorts, what happens when kids are changing classes? How do you have a cohort? I want to know about classrooms. I want to know how the eating is going to take place. It doesn't mean that I am opposed to children going back, doing this, but I really care about the details being done correctly and that I feel comfortable that they're being done correctly. And again, when I talked earlier about the deeper dive kinds of issues, this is that. And what I think has happened, unfortunately, is we've often approached these questions as if we were adversaries, and we're not. We're not adversaries. We bring different things to the table. I want to know that it is safe for children and for families and our community to have people back in school together. And I think it would be more devastating to not have the details worked out and have to backtrack than to perhaps be a little bit slower in the rollout. So I just wanted to share that I very much would like us to be able to really ask about the details, have a meeting that's just about those details, and then take a vote, okay?
Thank
So
you.
I really wanted to communicate that.
Thank you, Board
Thank
Member
you.
Meisinger. Board Member Kaplan.
So this week, we could go ahead and survey the families and make sure, find out who wants to stay remote and who doesn't, so that we
We
can
could.
get that data right
Mhm.
away.
We actually could.
Because that could help us with making a good decision. And I want to be on the record that I want our children to get back ASAP. I think there's an urgency here. I think the mental health of our children, the academics of our children, we really just can't waste any time. So I want to be on record for that.
Board Member Calvert Hayes.
I really think maybe we got ahead of ourselves voting, because hearing from you and hearing what you're saying and the way you are explaining things is so meaningful to me. You're our leader, and to hear you say that you feel like we will all be safe, that we've got things in place, because before, when we voted, we just voted. And I would like for us to be able to vote again as soon as possible. And I don't know when we will be able to do that, but the information that you have brought forward has really, really been something that I think we needed before we voted whether to open schools, close schools, have all this, that's why I abstained. So thank you for bringing this to us and letting us know all these important details that I feel like we didn't know before. I appreciate it.
Clarify something real quick.
Chair?
When I made the motion to vote, it would have been after the discussion. I wasn't
Yeah.
making a motion to vote before we had discussion.
Thank you for that clarity.
Yeah.
Chair Woodbury, can we?
Well, I think
this
we
is
did vote
Elizabeth
before.
again.
Board
I
Member,
don't want to,
oh, go ahead,
Is
Board
it
Member
okay?
Meisinger.
yeah, can we get a time on the calendar that, I can meet on Thursday night after 7. But is there a time we can meet, or can we have a time where our superintendent will sit down with board members who have questions about the details and then have a shorter meeting quickly? But I care a lot about details. That's my whole professional life has been about details. So I don't want to be rushed on that. I feel like due diligence requires that. But I also hear from some board members that they don't have those same questions. They don't have those same concerns. So can we come up with a plan to address the differing concerns people have?
I agree. Ms. Monsinger, I think you're right. We all bring something different to the table and ask different questions. I guess my question is, is there already prepared a plan for bringing kids back 4 days a week in middle and high?
So we've had a plan all
Like a
year.
little bit of a plan,
We've had a plan all year for bringing kids back. We didn't know as the year was going to progress what would be approved and not approved as far as numbers. Were we going to go to Plan B? Were we going to? And so to be honest with you, the plan, schools have been implementing the plan. It's just now going to be with more students in person. So the details that need to be worked out are literally logistical around eating, because if you're going to take off your mask and you're in a classroom full of kids at the same time, I mean, and you're less than 6 feet, you know, in grade 6 through 12, the recommendation is that you can't all take your mask off at the same